From that moment on, SETI, traditionally focused on picking up radio signals from distant stars, turned its antennas toward a target in our outer space. The goal was not just to observe their physical behavior, but also to look for any evidence of communication, whether intentional or accidental. What they found was not exactly a signal, but neither was it the absolute silence they had expected from the spectrometer. The chemical signatures reflected by the sunlight did not match those expected from a comet. No water ice, carbon dioxide, or silicate-rich dust common to these travelers was detected. Instead, the spectrum seemed to disappear, almost as if it were being masked. Then came a detail that began to change the tone of the conversation. The brightness variation of 3 in Atlas, measured with high precision, revealed a repetitive pattern. It was not an irregular spin like that of an asteroid, nor a random thermal phenomenon. It was something precise, almost like a pulse. And to some, this pulse of light sounded like language. Pure mathematics translated into light variation, recursive patterns, symmetries, repetitions that seemed like binary code. There was no vocabulary, no translation, there was structure. And where there is structure, there is usually intention. This possibility further divided science. For the more cautious, it was premature to speak of intelligence. For the more daring, ignoring the parallelism would be foolish. After all, what could generate such a controlled sequence of brightness variations in absolute vacuum without external interference? What if what we were seeing was a primal form of transmission that predated spoken language, or even electromagnetic communication, a kind of universal code based on visual patterns capable of spanning millennia and civilization? The question, however, was not limited to what happened was, but who was behind it. And more disturbingly, why had it arrived now? There was nothing in the astronomical record to justify the coincidence. Yet there it was, crisscrossing the solar system with behavior that defied explanation and elicited a sensation that no data could measure, the impression that it was watching us. But this is just the surface of the puzzle, because if the initial data had already caused discomfort, the following discoveries would completely change our understanding, not only of this visitor, but also of the very act of looking at the sky. Something was about to reveal that 3I Atlas had not just stopped by and the next clue lay hidden in its route. A deliberate route when the universe is no longer just a stage. It is curious how we spend our lives believing that the universe is a neutral backdrop, a static immensity against which our existence unfolds. We believe that it remains there indifferent, functioning as a silent stage for human work. But what if we discover that this stage is watching us? What if what we consider just a stage actively participates in the plot? The trajectory of 3I Atlas forces us to confront this possibility. It did not arrive in a straight line like any object lost in the void. It did not follow a random route dictated solely by gravity or chance. Its trajectory was almost choreographed, a close pass by Venus, then Mars, then Jupiter, as if it were a visitor assessing the major landmarks of our system before reaching us. It's impossible not to associate this behavior with something we do every day, even without realizing it. Think about when we enter an unfamiliar place. We observe the space, measure distances, note points of interest, and record exits. It's an instinct for reconnaissance, a rapid reading of the environment to understand where we are and how to proceed. Now imagine that this entry is not into a room or a city, but into an entire planetary system. This is exactly the impression conveyed by 3 Atlas. What's most disturbing is that this notion of a deliberate route isn't just a scientific question, it provokes a deeper discomfort. Because if something is capable of moving in this way, with direction, intention, and precision, then it's an agent, not an accident, and suddenly the void isn't empty anymore. There's a curious effect when the mundane and the cosmic collide. Imagine you're in traffic, stopped at a traffic light, and you notice a car behind you that's following your every move. It's not so close that it's a threat, but not so far away that it disappears from your attention. At every turn you make, you do the same thing. At every street you turn, it follows you. At first you try to convince yourself it's a coincidence, but as the pattern repeats itself, doubt creeps in. Why is it following me? What does it want? This is what creates the Atlas 3 route, the feeling of being watched by something that doesn't immediately reveal its intentions, and you don't have to be in space to understand its significance. Life is full of human-scale atlases, people, circumstances, or information that pop up and start to align with our path in ways that seem random until they reveal themselves as part of something larger. When we see news stories about an interstellar object approaching, we tend to dismiss it as something distant. But here's the catch. Thinking that distance equals irrelevance. History itself shows that distant events, an economic crisis on another continent, a scientific discovery in an isolated laboratory, a political decision in a country we've never visited, can soon afterward alter the way we live, what we buy, and the freedoms we have or lose. And if 3i Atlas were one of those events, something that seems distant today but will be remembered in the future as a turning point, the parallel becomes even more uncomfortable when we consider the logic we apply to assessing risks and opportunities. In everyday life, we ignore subtle signals because they don't fit our expectations. A coworker suddenly changes his behavior. A business partner